here with my co-host, Kate Robertson.
Hey, got my name right that time.
I did. Wow. Woo, now I'm mess up later. So today's podcast episode is going to be it's going to be something different, and we have a very, very, very special guest with us today. We're going to be talking about fear and like where fear comes from, and then it's going to go into where we're talking about monsters, and in particular, skinwalkers. And our guest today is my beautiful daughter, Sydney Walsh, and she had something really unique happen to her at school. So she took this English class, and for their whole semester, they picked a monster, and they did like that was their project for the whole semester. And she chose skinwalkers. So let me introduce Sydney and get to talking about this and how all this started and what the process was. And then we're going to just roll into it. And I'm going to let you know that Kate and Sydney know a lot more about skinwalkers, the lore and all that than I do. So if you don't hear much from me, it's because I'm sitting here having my coffee. So, introducing my daughter, Sydney.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. I'm so happy and honored that you're on here.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
All right. So the other question to say is, like, with fear and things being scary, this kind of takes me back to the book Wicked and the play Wicked. Is like the whole theory of that is, are you born evil or does society make you that way? So this ties into this.
Oh, see, I don't know, because I have mixed opinions on that like if you were born evil or society makes you evil, just because like one thing about like bringing in, let's say like Jeffrey Dahmer. So in his documentary or whatever, they said he was like a fine boy before, and then he had some sort of surgery for his ears, and that's when he started to be all weird and creepy and stuff. But then you just have like, I don't know, I feel like it can happen from a young age, but like you have to be introduced, like if you're made that way by society, you have to be introduced to that stuff like at a very, very young age to be able to develop it as your brain develops with like, so you know what I'm trying to say, like your brain's still developing, so like you're still learning and trying to also, you know, process with your memory and stuff. Your memory's still developing, so like you have to be introduced to it and around it all the time to still have that. I can't like even think of the word, like still have like the knowledge of it, maybe, like,
Well, because your foundation years are like your early years from birth until about 5, I think. Those are your foundation years. So, Kate, can you elaborate on that at all?
I mean,
Okay.
you're like you said, the foundation years are generally what we develop, but you can be influenced by anything at any time. So, you know, maybe you've never had any fears about spiders, for instance. We'll use them as an example. You have no problem with spiders, and then all of a sudden you just develop this terrifying fear of spiders because you see a big nasty furry thing, you know what I mean? And it freaks you out, and so now you're terrified of spiders no matter what they look like. So there's nature versus nurture, you know. That's, I think, honestly, I think it all ties in. I think that we're influenced in so many different ways on so many different levels throughout our lives that we have to figure out and differentiate what we actually identify ourselves with. If maybe you have some beliefs that you gained from your parents, but maybe things didn't sit quite right with you most of your life and in those beliefs. So when you get older, you start to kind of reflect on that and develop your own beliefs and your own understanding and come into who you are, period. You know, I mean, what
I can say I always had like so going back to like my childhood, my mom was always scared of heights and scared of worms. And so like the height thing, I was scared of heights. Not so much so anymore, but I do feel like maybe sometimes your parents can inflict their own fears onto their children. And so I tried very hard with you and your brother to not put my fears onto you guys, like with spiders or bugs or whatever. And I ended up conquering my fear of spiders when we lived in that one house there, where we had those great big spiders in the basement. Like when I had to get on there to kill them, like, it was either kill them or they bit the kids. So, you go into protective mode, and then that's how you can conquer your fears over certain things. But did I put any fears on you?
No, I'm scared of spiders. Like, I mean, I'm not like, I'm okay with like killing bugs, but like, I'm still scared of them. Like, I have this like, extremely huge fear of stink bugs. I don't know why. I'm absolutely like terrified of them. Like, if I see one, I'm like gonna cry.
Really?
I'm not kidding. Like, I'm actually like the other day, Trista found one in the kitchen, and I was like literally like, she's like, I am Sydney, calm down. I'm like, God, yeah, yeah. Like, and like I don't know why, but like that's really the main like big bug that I'm scared of. Like, yeah, I'm scared of spiders, but like I can kill a spider, but like that, like, and everyone in the house, like all my roommates, they're terrified. Like, I mean, terrified. And anytime there's a bug, they come running to me. Like, I have some of my roommates will literally hop out of the shower if there's a bug in the shower and come beat on my door, soaking wet, and their towel to come kill the bug in the shower. And I'm like, you guys don't think I'm scared either? Like, I don't know. It's just
I'm the person to like get the bugs because you're conquering your fears.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my fears have not been conquered, so I'm still terrified. Yeah, so, I thought about getting this like super cute little tiny like tarantula spider. Get over my spider fear. It's so cute.
You want to get a spider as a pet?
Yeah. Get over my fear.
Okay. I'm all for that.
Good for you. Better woman than I am.
Right? Hey, I will lizards, frogs.
I can't do lizards.
And those stupid, they call them water bugs down here. They look like cockroaches, but they're not. But I caught one the other day because they come in the house. Like in Florida, it's basically a swamp. So you got like bugs. We have a black bear running around the neighborhood right now. You don't see me going outside. So, but I caught that, and those things are fast. Those water bugs. So I caught it, and I caught it in a cup, and I took it outside. I put them back outside. I try not to kill them if I don't have to. Because I have a theory that if I tell them that they don't belong in the house and they don't leave, then I have, I give them 3 chances. And if they don't leave, then, if I can't catch you, you're going to go down the toilet.
You're a lot nicer than me, because I just take the shit and I'm like, boom, 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 boom. I'm just like, die. Like, I'll scream at it as I'm killing it because I'm so scared.
Sydney.
Like, there was a spider that was probably like in this house. I swear, I have a picture of it. It was like this big. And it was black, and it was ginormous on the floorboard. And I was screaming at Sam to kill it, and he wouldn't. He would not get off the couch to kill it. I called Dad to tell Sam to kill the spider. They told me to do it on my own. So I had to get the vacuum.
I'm glad I know that.
And I sucked it up with the vacuum.
Good.
And I got a big old chair, and I sat on the chair, and I reached on me. I was like, just like I'm terrified. It triggers your fight or flight response.
Yeah.
So what else are you afraid of besides bugs? And anything?
Death.
Death?
I can't talk about it, though.
You can't talk about it?
No, I'll go into a panic attack.
We'll talk about it privately. Just know that I had that fear at your age too, because it's the unknown. Okay. So you're not comfortable with it. And so it's like, well, what happens? Where do I go? What, even though you know where you go, but you still are like, well, I'm not here anymore. So like, what happens? So I remember being your age and having that go through my head, but then I worked through it. It's like, you just get more comfortable with it because you start learning more and understanding more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You experience different things that bring you close to it. And that actually helps you to overcome that fear.
So in any of your research, Sydney, did you figure out, other than what we've already discussed, like where fear comes from?
Just most of the time, just that it's from what you, what's the word? There's a specific word that I would like to use for this, and I can't think of it. It's just basically just what we learn from, like, most of our fears are based off of what we have learned. Like, most of the things that we're scared of is what we've been taught from when we were younger. Is really all that I know of and can say.
What are your thoughts about, like, past lives? Do you believe in those kind of things?
Yeah.
Do you believe that fears can be carried over from a past life?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about past lives, but I mean, I know of them, but I do believe that, yeah, that's possibly a possibility. Yeah.
Okay. They say that some people, like, will have fears of certain things, like people who are afraid of snakes. It's because maybe they were bitten and killed in a past life by a snake, or they're afraid of heights because they're afraid of falling, because they fell off a great, something high, things like that. Now, you were telling a story to us the other day about, you were talking about Skinwalker Ranch and how the cow. Yeah.
So so that actually will go off of the fear and the brain source that I had. So with that being the main source of how animals and humans react to fear the same way, there was a cow so they had brought in a bunch of cattle on the ranch, and they were trying to see how, I guess, the ranch would react to bringing the cattle on, since they haven't had the cattle or any animals on the ranch. And I think it was like 20 years maybe since that family had left, like the Sherman family had left, because of all the mutilations. Apparently there was a cow, and there's like surveillance video of oh my gosh, my hair is not cooperating, I'm so sorry. What?
It looks great.
But anyways, so there was on cameras, because they have cameras all over the property. On the camera, there was like a black thing seen in the sky, and as it was seen passing by, you could see how the cow was in like immediate distress, and then not too long later, it was found dead on the ground. Like, there was no sign of like mutilation, or like it had been torn apart or anything. So they called a vet to come, I guess, like do like an autopsy on the cow or whatever. And they had concluded that because there's this disease, it's the pneumonia or ammonia or something like that, that when the cow was so scared, it had taken on, it had immediately like taken on that disease, and that disease is what's killed it, because of how fearful and terrified the cow was. So like it was scared to death, basically, from what it had seen. Like, it was affected, and all the cows and the rest of the cattle had migrated like across the entire property, like away from where the cow had died. They just left, like they went running and just left the cow to like the opposite side.
I watched that series, and you're right about that. There was an aerial phenomena, and then like the one cattle was just like, it was frozen, and the other ones went away, and then it was like dead. So literally, you can be scared to death.
Yeah.
And according to your sources as well.
Yeah.
You also said that you were only able to find one story where a family was killed by paranormal.
Yeah. So I didn't get to go. I actually forgot to go look up the source for that. I can't remember where exactly I found it, but I know that there was a there is one story where a family, the cause of death was paranormal activity. Like that was all they could rule out. They could not rule out anything else other than it being paranormal activity.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Do you know details about that story? Do you remember?
No, but I mean, I could look it up.
You got your computer on?
I mean, I got this computer right here.
It'd be cool to have that source, because that's a pretty significant thing for them to actually rule the death as paranormal, because that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it was when I saw that, I was like, what the world?
Right.
I think that's definitely odd.
Well, there's, they talk about cases you see on TV shows and things like that where people get scared to death and their hair turns instantly white. And
Yeah.
I mean, spontaneous combustion is a thing. Why wouldn't being scared to death be a thing? You know what I mean? Like anything's possible.
Yeah.
That would be it. I'd like to research that more. Spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating, because like, are those people just literally like on fire inside, and then they just like one day something just like, is it anger, emotion? What fuels it? I find that kind of stuff fascinating when you can research and try to figure out,
Absolutely. I know I've read some, articles that have said where it's believed that it is like after great trauma or something happens that it's an extreme emotional response, basically.
Mhm.
But whether it's true or not, I don't know if there's scientific data to back it up yet.
well, you found it yet, Sid?
No, like I cannot find it anywhere.
That's okay. If you do find it, just send it to
I'll
us.
send it to you because it's extremely interesting. It's really, really weird.
So do you know like where your fears stem from, like of stink bugs, for instance, or
No.
no idea?
Bugs, are they love bugs, or like what are stink bugs? They're
They're
love bugs.
like those. I actually hate them so much.
Why?
Because they're just gross.
You think one landed on you as a kid or something, and that you didn't like it, so that was like, because aren't stink bugs love bugs? What they call love bugs?
I don't know.
They look like little prehistoric beetles, they're
Mhm.
like really ugly. They're ugly. I'm not gonna they're looking. I don't like personally, but
I know I got stung by a beetle at the beach a few years ago, and I didn't know this could happen. Like, I was playing volleyball, and I had these welts, these like big blisters that was on my hand, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Well, I remember swatting at something. Well, apparently, the stinging beetle, if it flies by you and you swat at it or whatever, it can sting you, and you don't even know it. You don't feel it, but you have these like blisters. I have pictures of it, and I looked it up because I was like, what is this? And so apparently that's their mark. Now we do have those down here. We have those things that look like a spiky caterpillar, but if they get you, like, I've known some people, they've had to go to the hospital because they were going into anaphylactic shock.
yeah.
Scary things in nature. I guess you just have to be aware. And then there's things that you aren't aware of things, but I think that your sixth sense kicks in, your instinct, your gut, to tell you that something's not right. If you have that feeling, don't go over there, don't go here tonight or whatever, then don't do it. If you do, you never know. You don't know what the warning is. Animals have that same instinct.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I remember where I think I remember exactly where the video was. It's a video that it was talked about. I'm pretty sure, if I can find it. I watched these people on YouTube called Sam and Colby, and they used to, Sam and Colby?
Yeah.
Okay. I love them. I started watching them when they were just traveling and just exploring like abandoned places. When they first started out. And then I started to get into then they started, they ended up getting arrested for this abandoned video. They made a video and they were doing at an abandoned place. They ended up getting arrested. So then they stopped doing that and they just started visiting paranormal places. And I'm 100% sure one of the videos that I watched was where he said that it was the documented paranormal death. And I'm really positive it's from him.
I feel like I remember something to do with Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I've done a lot of research on that couple and like the artifacts that they have. I know like when the Annabelle doll and just different, like you're not supposed to look it in the eyes, like you're not things. I mean, because what everybody doesn't understand too is everything is energy, whether it's good or bad. So like everything, the chair we're sitting in, everything's energy. So we're energy. So inanimate objects can be possessed by darkness. They had a whole room and they would have a priest go in there several times a day to bless and sage and, all of that stuff, because those artifacts, she wanted them to go to the Catholic Church when she passed. That is one person that I would have loved to have met in person, because they were called upon with the Catholic Church to help with these investigations. They worked on the Amityville horror. That's where they Lorraine encountered the nun, the scary nun. Then they had, those movies that they made, The Conjuring. Those are factual things. And they actually, if you research it, there's actual video on it.
Yeah.
So those people he was like a professor, right? Wasn't he a professor?
Yeah, he was a professor.
Stuff. What'd you say, Kate?
Yeah, he was a professor.
Yeah. And then she just had the gifts to be able to see and to know and all of that. And she was so good that as a team, he didn't have those abilities, but together they were phenomenal. So they were people. They encountered a lot of unexplainable things.
Yeah.
Well, and he could paint and draw what she saw.
Yes.
He did hone in on certain abilities over time,
As you brought them up, I really I was on a kick with them in like 2021, I think, where I was just like all about, anything I could find on Ed and Lorraine Warren. It was just, I was really wanting to know, because I find the unexplained the best.
See, Sam and Colby have been to the Conjuring House once or twice, like the real Conjuring House. They have been and investigated that. They've investigated like the Sally House. They've investigated the Amityville house.
Sally Borden.
They have investigated that as well.
Yeah.
Is it the same, or is that there's two different?
I would think, because Sally Borden, she's the one that allegedly killed her entire family.
Yeah. So
long time.
Yeah. So like, and then they visited the house where like the axe murders like happened as well. Crazy. They went like everywhere. They go to some of like the most demonic places. They've been to like Dracula's castle also. Like, it's crazy. They go everywhere.
You got to be careful doing that stuff, because you got to make sure you're protected, for one.
Oh, they just got rid of their attachments that they had too, and they think they got them back now.
That right there.
Yeah.
You can, and you got to be cleared and cleansed and all that. So going to those places, yeah, it's interesting and it's like cool. But you really have got to be like a really solid, grounded person that is like, you have your energy so protected that nothing can penetrate that shield you have around you if you're going to be doing that sort of thing. Because I know people that have done paranormal investigations and they have been injured, like to the point where they almost died from things that happened to them. So it's not something to be messing around with. We are not encouraging that at all in this video. You do those things, you do them at your own risk. We're just talking about different paranormal things today and how it's connected to fear. So we just wanted to state that.
Yeah, I want to make sure you state that in there because we don't want anybody just going and doing, even us as seasoned, dealing with this stuff. There's times like I sent her a picture, a month ago, like, look at my back. I just got scratched, and I was dealing with some stuff there. But because if you let your guard down for a split second, they can sneak in.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared and know what you're doing, and it's nothing to play around with.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. So Sydney, I want you to, like, going back to your paper, when you did your debate between skinwalkers and zombies, which is scarier, how did that go down? By the way, we want to say that Sydney got an A on her class. I just want to say that as a proud mom.
Wow, thanks so much, guys. Thank you. But anyways, so it was basically like you make slides, and the first slide obviously is your title slide, and you're basically not arguing, and like you just made the slides. It was like, why skinwalkers are scarier than zombies, and then the guy who had zombies would say why zombies are scarier than skinwalkers, whatever. So that was a title slide, and then the second slide was basically like what I learned from my own essay, and then the third slide was what I learned about my partner's monster, and then like a hold on, I'll show you. Okay, so and then we had to do like a counterclaim. So like, my opponent may say this, but this is why, blah, blah, blah. So my counterclaim was opponent may say zombies are scarier than skinwalkers because they can turn people into zombies, but skinwalkers take your soul and eat you. that was my counterclaim.
Mic drop.
What? Yeah.
Mic.
And then the next slide was a picture of my monster, and then a picture of their monster, and just a couple bullet points next to each picture. So basically like bullet points next to my picture about why they're scary, and then bullet points next to this other picture, other monster's picture, trying to like degrade it, I guess. Like not being scary. So for like skinwalkers, I put deformed body, can be approachable depending on the animal they can shift into, and they'll eat you. And then for zombies, I put really slow, ugly, and not approachable, and can be capable of being friendly because of how intelligent they are.
Zombies?
Yeah, they're pretty intelligent. You can like coerce them into like being friendly and not.
If you can coerce them, I wouldn't think they were intelligent, because then they would know what you were doing.
Oh, maybe I used the wrong word. I don't know.
Okay. So, now I don't know if we did briefly talk about how they were created, right?
Yeah, from like the medicine men, and
you were talking about like people what were some of the other topics that people took from in your class. You were talking about how somebody did Shrek and
so
Analog.
somebody did Shrek, somebody did this YouTuber that was like charged with murder and has a bunch of mental disabilities. Someone did Dracula, werewolves, Frankenstein, what's his name? Edward.
Edward, really?
I knew you were gonna say that. And then
Edward, just gonna
someone did like the dog from Sandlot. My friend did Frankenstein.
some pretty interesting topics there.
Yeah, it was, and it's not always about like someone did Shrek, so I mean like basically explaining like, yes, like Shrek it can be mean and scary, but like he's not actually that way, he's just perceived that way, because he's an ogre and he's green and he's big and he's mean, but he's not really like that. So your monster could be, obviously a monster in other people's eyes, but like you're trying to debate on the fact that they're not really a monster. Kind of, there's this one Disney movie, and I don't remember what it's called, but basically it's of this guy and he's locked away his whole life because he's too ugly to go out and like.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame?
I think so.
Isn't that right?
He's like, I don't know what the name of it is.
Hunchback was of Notre Dame. He was locked away because he was locked. There could be like the Phantom of the Opera. He wasn't locked away though. He just lived in the sewers.
No, it wasn't. He was like locked away, like that he was too ugly to be in public or whatever. And like he was really, really nice. It was just he was deemed as so scary, like to the public. See, that's
I was coming into from the book Wicked and the play Wicked. That was like how the whole thing is, like she was born green, and so she was different from everybody else. She was the Wicked Witch, okay, but like when she was growing up and everything, she wasn't wicked, but because everyone treated her, she became that way. So that's you can see
it is the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah,
I thought so.
Well, and you got to think perception too, because how many people so maybe there's a guy that likes a girl, but he's coming off kind of creepy, So but maybe he's a really nice guy, but the way he's going about presenting it or trying to talk to you because he's scared, he gets close and then shies away again. Well, as the girl, you might see that as creepy, but he may not be being creepy. He might actually just be trying to talk to you and he's just nervous. But
that's just like all he knows how, I guess, to do it, maybe.
Right. So you get in the perception and like how we perceive people. Is that really who they are?
So, which goes into judgment.
Yeah, 100%.
So never judge a book by its cover, but always trust your gut. Always trust your instinct because it's never wrong. Never. Anytime I went against mine, I always had a hard lesson to learn. Yeah. So, Kate, you had some questions written down you wanted to ask Sydney, I think.
Well, I was looking at them and I'm pretty sure we already covered everything. Talked about fear stemming from conditioning or born with. We talked about that. We talked about so we talked a little bit about the possibility of fears being attributed by authority figures or society, like parents, teachers, etc. Media.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about her personal fears. We talked about, asked her if she knows where they come from. Well, here's one. How do you define fear?
You define fear in your own way. Like fear is defined. That's actually one thing that I put in my paper. The way everyone defines fear is different. So everyone has their own definition of fear, as into like what makes them scared. So like we're all not going to be like, oh, I'm scared of the dark. That's fear to me. Like fear is what makes me scared. Like we all have our own specific definitions and claims as to what makes our fear and what defines our fear.
It looked like you were going to say something when Kate was going through her questions that she had, Sid.
The it was what was the question about how like something with like the society and authority figures? What was that question?
Oh, like basically do our fears, can we attribute them to like teachers learning them? And you talked about fears being learned and from outside sources.
She said the media, family. She said the media, family, teachers. Like you look like you're going to say something.
Yeah, but I guess it doesn't really make sense now, because the way I wanted to put it was like I feel like we can, from like authority figures, we can be not persuade, or we can be persuaded because we trust them as adults to be afraid of something or like something or not want anything to do with something. And one thing I was gonna like relate it to was like another thing about Jeffrey Dahmer or whatever. He had like no interest, and his dad was the one who got him into like dissecting animals and like doing all the like
really
picking up like roadkill and like dissecting them and like doing that, like putting it in acid to like dissolve everything. Yeah, his dad taught him that.
I'm just saying that's my opinion, but that's not normal. Like why would you do that? And why would a father teach their child to do that? Because usually that's a classic sign for like if they kill animals as kids, that's a warning, real big warning flag right there. But like to get animals that are dead and dissect them and do that kind of stuff to them, that's like,
I think, in my personal opinion, that Jeffrey Dahmer's dad, being, his dad, obviously he's going to trust his dad and what his dad's trying to teach him, that also persuaded him more into that and the dissecting, and probably contributed to his, I guess, like not issues, but
maybe his fascination. Or
yeah, like I think his dad has contributed. So like I was trying to use that example as like how we trust adults to lead us in the right way, and that can persuade us and contribute to our fears, and then what else we're interested in as well and not wanting to be interested in.
Well, yeah, because if you're doing something like that with a parent, it's gonna seem normal to you. And so that is straight conditioning right there. I mean, he conditioned that was okay, that was normal, that was like a regular thing. And I think he was into like taxidermy and stuff like that too.
Something like that. I think so. Yeah. It's all in that documentary or that series they made on Netflix. It's definitely crazy. It's definitely
back to like if as at a young age, because even at a young age, you can get that little twinge in your gut to whether you know something is right or wrong, even if it is an authority figure having you do it. So this would go into what I would think about. We all have free will, but as children, we're under someone's care. So we're, you can see things, you can experience things, you can be taught things, but like deep inside of you, you know whether that's right or wrong and whether you want to do that, And so learning to trust yourself with everything, even when you're a child, like knowing that, well, I'm not going to do that when I get older, or, like whatever. Like it's just think for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have free will. God gave us free will, but use your instinct, because your instinct is actually God speaking to you, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Find it.
Dahmer was killing like animals and stuff before his dad introduced him to collecting the dead animals off the road and dissecting them.
Okay. So then that's like that's a classic sign for serial killers, right? For yeah.
Sociopath. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's psychopaths, isn't it?
Both. But yeah, psychos.
Kids killing animals at a young age, that's not normal.
I
So
don't think it's normal at all.
well,
No.
I mean, it's proven with, scientific research and stuff, it's been proven that is a red flag in children. So, because then they don't have that, they have no empathy. They don't think. So like killing, sometimes they just want to see what it's like to kill something like an animal or whatever. And then it leads into other things. People.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, girls, we've touched on a lot of stuff today. This has been a very informative interview, I feel. And I hope that we make people think and go and do their own research and watch the Skinwalker Ranch, watch the Jeffrey Dahmer thing, just so you can educate yourselves and form your own opinions on all of this. And then what are you afraid of? What are your deepest fears and why do you have them? And can you eradicate
brain? You rewire your brain if there's stuff that is affecting you, that you have limiting beliefs or conditioning that doesn't feel right to you or seem like you, and it came from somewhere else. Then rewire your brain, change it, do what you feel is best for you. Don't do it just because that's what somebody told you was right, and don't believe everything that you see, hear, are told. Figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. And Sydney's like she's at that age where you start like breaking away, like you start questioning things and forming your own beliefs about things and like really getting down to like, is that fact or is that just something I've been told, or, like what do I believe? So your coming years, you're going to get even more into that. And you get more confident with yourself and you get, it just, and you being in college, like you're able to really explore and research too.
Yeah.
Anything else, girls?
No.
Anything about skinwalkers or fear or anything else that we haven't touched on?
I don't think so.
Anything else you want to say? Any parting words?
Peace out, Girl Scout.
That's what Kate always say. Peace out. Well, I want to thank both of you for being here today. And I want to thank you, Sydney, for coming on. It really made me so happy that you did this interview. And this was like our thing. And Kate joined us and like everyone's knowledge come together. And Kate could talk for days, I know, about like all of this stuff. Like we could too. There's like so many other things we could have explored. But we were trying to do like what your paper was on and what you did. And just really proud of you, honey. And I'm so thankful that you came on. Made time. So I love you. And I'll talk to you later.
I love you.
Everybody else, thank you for joining us today on Solasta Circle. We'll see you next time. Kate?
Don't forget the marshmallows.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Be sure to join us next week with the extraordinary author and experiencer Kevin J. Briggs of Spiritual Consciousness, A Personal Journey. We're going to talk about UFOs, ETs, spiritual consciousness, and so much more. You're not going to want to miss this. You can catch us right here on Solasta Circle YouTube channel. Or you can go to our podcast and listen if you prefer. Also, Solasta Circle, available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Anchor.fm. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And make sure you hit that bell notification so that you get notified whenever we upload a new episode. So until next time, thanks for watching and listening. We'll catch you around the bonfire. Don't forget the marshmallows.